From the legendary Village Underground in New York City, this is SiriusXM's Unmasked. Tonight's guest is one of the most respected stand-up comedians working today. His latest special, Red State, Blue State, premiered on CNN and is available now on Netflix. Colin Quinn. And now, here's your host, Ron Bennington. And coming to the stage, Colin Quinn.
Wow, dude.
Nice.
This is like a campaign stop for you. For a guy who wants to break up America. Seems like we're heading for a niche market with your plan, right? It's not.
What do
like
you mean?
Well, it's not like a lot of people are going, yeah, time to break up America.
I feel like everybody's going like that. Because when I did Unconstitutional, which was almost the same thing, everybody's like, oh, but now it's like, yeah, do it.
I like you say that it was almost the same thing.
What's that?
My next, this special is almost identical to my last special.
But the truth is, no, it was two specials ago. But the truth is, everybody covers their area for their whole life in comedy too. Let's not act like everybody's doing a special about, science one day and dick jokes the next. We're gonna be unmasked.
Well, I will say this. I went back and watched the specials. You don't have like a kind of a look when it comes to clothing.
Wow.
No, here's what I'm saying. Every special.
Hey, I didn't know we were gonna. I didn't think we were gonna start like come in all richroast.com.
All right. So that's out of the way. So if that prick shows up, tackle him. But I'm saying, like, in every one special, you got a suit, the next one a hoodie.
I know.
No one knows. This one's just like
I think that's, I mean, I feel like it's also, like, anytime I never feel comfortable in any kind of clothes. Because I always feel like I should have had a different shape. You know what I mean? I've always had it just goes back. I had a pot belly when I was like 11. It's been bad. It's been tough, is all I'm saying.
Well, you were an early drinker, so you weren't.
Yeah, that didn't help either.
Yeah.
That took us to a new level. But in those days, I was really in bad shape. When I started comedy, if you see pictures of me right before I quit drinking, I had a mustache, and I looked like I was like 48, and I was like 23. I was 23, but I looked really old.
Yeah.
Like when I started comedy, people thought I was lying about my age. I was like 24, and guys were like, yeah, I heard he's really 42. That was like a bit of a rumor among some club owners.
What a horrible thing to follow you around.
No, it was good. It turned out to be good because then I grew into by the time I get to my age, people are like, oh, yeah, he looks normal. He looks okay.
Right. Yeah, there is a certain age where everyone just thinks that you look good just for being alive.
Right.
And that's where I am right now, too.
I'm
People are like,
right next to you. Yeah.
Hey, you look fantastic.
Yeah. I feel...
That's sad. That's sad that got close.
No, you do. And I feel the same way since my heart attack. I feel like, hey, now everybody's like, all right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just accept it,
I thought that was like kind of an interesting way to promote the special. Get a little heat for the
heart attack?
Yeah,
the
heart attack.
heart attack happened before I even decided to do that special.
Yeah.
That was it right after,
For you, was it enjoyable? Was it something?
It was, it was one of those really, it just made me so annoyed that I would actually, have a heart attack because I quit smoking because it was so hard to quit smoking, and I really feel like I never got the biological credit I've deserved from quitting smoking 23 fucking years ago, and then to have a heart attack was like an insult to injury.
That is true.
Too weird. Yeah.
You quit smoking, you quit drinking, and then you go past the bar now, and there's a guy 90 doing shots and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing fair about any of this.
Yeah. I don't mind the World War II vet guys that do that.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh, well, it's a different breed of human. But
right.
when you see somebody that, just missed Korea and WWE, and then you're like, this fucking guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I like those guys. They won't look up. They're just staring in their glass.
Right.
Like there's a fucking answer to their problem somewhere. Yeah. That's real drinking. Not fucking kids are sitting around doing these effeminate little drinks that they have now. Yeah, I went there, Colin. I did.
I used to be a bartender too,
Yes. How was that? Were you good at it?
I was very good, unless I would start to nip a little bit at the bar.
One
I was
for them,
fine,
one
but
for you.
then it would always turn into something else.
Yeah, because you feel like you're at a party. You know what I mean? Like this is enjoyable.
And you don't notice 12 horrified faces at the bar looking at you. And you're like, why are they getting weird? I'm the bartender. Next thing you know, it's back on the bricks. What I used to do, what a different world it was, when I would lose my jobs, which happened all the time, I would have to walk up. I would walk, Upper East Side was the only neighborhood. This neighborhood in the Upper East Side was the only neighborhoods people would go out to at night, Yeah. In this late 70s, early 80s. I would walk up 3rd Avenue, hit every bar with a fake resume because they couldn't call my other places. So it would be like places, but they wouldn't answer. Blah, 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 and just go to every bar until I got a job, and I'd get some decent job that way.
Well,
not an exciting story, but hey, folks.
I'm gonna ask the audience just to lean back for a few moments. It's not going to stay that compelling, but let's what I mean. It's a roller coaster.
Well, I've got some good bar stories we'll get to later.
But that was your thing. You're into comedy, but when did this run start with the one-man shows? Because to me, and it's going to seem like I'm blowing smoke here, but I think you've been on one of the greatest, most consistent runs all time in comedy.
Thank you.
And it's
thanks. Thank you. Thank those of you that applauded that saw the show. Some of you saw my Comedy Central Presents, and you're acting like you're following me. You're here for Ron, and I respect that. Let's not get crazy. Sorry, guys. I hate to leave the audience out, but what can you do? Well, but thank you. Yeah, I started doing one-man shows. What happened was my first one I did in L.A. was the beginning of Irish Wake, and it was about my block, my family, all that stuff, and it was like a real Irish-specific show I did in L.A. in 1991, and then I moved it to off-Broadway, and then moved it to Broadway, and then never filmed it. And this is in 1998. It still kills me. Like, it was selling out every night on Helen Hayes. It was like the hottest I'll ever be. And we didn't film it. Like, because if you tried to film in those days, it was like a big production.
Right.
And everybody's like, well, you can't film. Well, Union will. So the producer tried to film it. They stopped them. The house stopped them. Like, you can't do that. Imagine now, you have to, you know what I mean? Everybody's filming all day. I know you had to put your things in there, but still, But I'm saying it was like a big thing, so I don't have a copy of that one.
And that was something that you were really happy with. You were really,
yeah. Could have sold it.
Yeah, right. Well, why not go out and do it again? I mean, the story.
Because I don't remember it that well.
Okay.
And I have an old hard copy, but back in the hard copy terminology, that's how old it is. And so I mean, I could probably try to dust it off, but it'll be tough.
So after that, you took like 10 years before you did another kind of one.
I took like 14 years.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah.
In the middle of that, you almost destroyed your career with Tough Crowd. And then...
Whoa. Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Almost.
No, but so it took you a while to get back to that, right? You were still doing stand-up.
Yeah.
But just doing the kind of stand-up that you would do.
Right. I mean, I was doing thematic kind of sort of stuff, but it wasn't right. I didn't officially announce, hey, this is like one-man show stuff, you know what I mean?
Well, you do, you work out these specials, I guess. I don't know. Do you call them specials or just a one-man show? but right next door in the Fat Black Pussycat, and you'll go in there like it's a gym, like you're Rocky, and just keep going until something comes together. How long does that normally take you?
Like a year.
Yeah, about a year.
A year before you really, but that's and that's doing it a lot and going over my notes all day and listening to tapes. It's like it's a real, you have to really be serious about it. I mean, comedy. We didn't get into it because we like to work hard. But,
right, exactly.
It turned into quite a toil.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to, because memorizing is almost harder than writing sometimes.
And the audience doesn't know exactly what they're coming to see a lot of
Right.
times, right? So
Yeah.
they're he's sitting there reading a legal pad at us.
Yeah, there's a lot of dissatisfied customers in the early stages. They have to be into the process.
And you don't know exactly what it's going to be about at first, right?
Yeah, I never know. Like right now, I'm doing one exactly. It's sort of it comes out eventually. But like the New York one, I knew I wanted to do the history of New York. Like that one was simple. Like when I'm just. The history of New York, like I was always dying to just go over what New York was, but I didn't know it was going to be about the New York personalities,
Dude, there was, my entire family will bring this up to each other all the time because we did not know it was a thing, and yet we'd all experienced it. And you said in school, black girls would always have 2 different kinds of candy and be working both of them. We were looking at each other like, is that everywhere? But that was hilarious to me, and Italian guys who weren't afraid of anything until it was froyo.
Right, yeah, anything new experience. I forgot about that one. Like, what is that? That's all right?
Yeah. Well, that was the funniest part to me, that you were backing away from and you literally kind of you were acting for that one moment there. But that's the kind of things I think you've been able to bring out here, and I think a lot of it, and it's almost the exact opposite of where comedy is going right now. You're doing a lot of research into this, particularly the last 2. You didn't know a lot about these subjects.
What subjects? You mean the Constitution?
The Constitution, the way this whole thing is put together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like the New York thing I knew a lot about, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the Constitution, I feel like there was 2 shows ago, the unconstitutional one, but I put one in between so people wouldn't think I was doing the same one. I'm not stupid. No, I'm kidding. But I didn't know a lot about the Constitution. I read all these boring books from like 1900, 1880 about the Constitution. It's interesting.
These boring books are interesting.
Because you realize, because I was always like, why is the Constitution, why does everybody, left and right, always love the Constitution? They're always trying to use the Constitution. And then you realize why. It was kind of a wild thing. Not necessarily successful, but they were saying like the exact opposite of what everybody else had said.
Yeah.
Which is, what do you think? We want to hear your opinion. And you know what I mean? So you could argue that that was a mistake, but it was a noble effort.
You think we'd be happier if there was just one person in charge?
Like a king?
Yeah, like a king or a shah. You know what I mean? Just
I think a Shah would bring a certain respectability. I think an imam would help the dress code. And but I mean, one thing about mid-century Iran, you could leave your doors open. They say. They always say that about.
That's the same as Frank Rizzo in Philly. Hey,
Well, I did Unconstitutional in Philly for like a month run, and I swear to God, it was the greatest. You know what I mean? Just because everybody there was so interested in it.
Right.
Like even the average Joe on the street, everybody loves the Constitution because it's their, it's their Times Square. It's the fucking Liberty Bell. In Philly, when I was there, the people. It really is. It's like New York in the '70s. That's probably what inspired. It probably inspired New York Story because I was like homesick watching people just like it's just I don't think there was it was just everybody's fighting in the street. You see hipsters fighting.
Right, sure.
No other city do the hipsters get out and start swinging in the streets.
It's
you
very
have to fight
true.
in Philly. Yeah.
There's a part of Philly called the Main Line, which is just mansions and it's beautiful and those people.
We've all heard of it wrong.
Yeah, those people will punch you in the fucking face. I mean, they're out in the street. They tell their kids to hit other people. It's really, there's nostalgia when you walk through for the 70s.
Yeah.
It really does feel like that.
It does. I don't even think they have internet there yet, do they?
No. That's true.
But yeah, but I love it. I just love that, you know, that they love the Constitution. They're like obsessed with it there, you know.
No, but you fell in love with it too as you're doing this, because the whole founding fathers thing always annoyed me a little bit, like these secular saints that left things. But it's like, it reminds me of like Desi Arnaz with Lucy. You know what I mean? And then when he died, she had to go to Mr. Mooney to get fucking permission. Like, why these people are died? Why are we still listening to them? When they wrote this thing, they went out and shit next to a tree.
Right.
It seems like we should be able to update this thing pretty easily now.
But they said to update it. I mean, I hate to, you know, but they kept saying you guys will probably do this every time some big event happens. I'm like, no, we get too busy. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what's so weird is that we don't have constitutional conventions like once every 5 years.
Right.
Like, we never have these, like, these big things. And now it would be impossible. Now, if you wanted to have it, you'd have to shut down just like they did. They kept the press out significantly out of the Constitutional Convention. Press was kept out. That's what you'd have to do now. You couldn't have anybody around because people would be every day 50 opinions, everyone attacking it, Twitter mob. You know, it would just be a nightmare.
Yeah, we would not be able to. We can't move forward, and that's why you want to break this.
We can.
Yeah.
We can move forward if we make it an underground state, like a quasi police state. Is that so wrong?
No. No, I think that would be great, Colin. I really do. Anyone who disagrees with us, we can cut their hands off.
Say what you want about North Korea, but let me tell you.
What if we did this? What if, we still had the same thing, but there was only 13 original states.
Right.
How about those?
They weren't that original. There was like 5 original.
Okay,
the other ones
5
copied
original.
those ones.
Okay. But what if everybody, it's all run the same way, but just those 13 states get the vote? Like,
that's funny.
You can be a state, but you don't necessarily get a vote. We got it.
Well, you know what? That's so good that I'm mad that I didn't put that in my show. But yeah, they should count for more. The 13 should count for more.
Yeah, right.
Seniority.
Yes, of course.
It's not, just because it's called the union, it doesn't mean it's a union.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it also annoys me with the senators that, fucking Delaware and Montana have the same amount of senators as California and Florida.
Right.
It just seems ridiculous to me.
But they said that they weren't going to do it unless they did that. That was what it was about.
They weren't going to what?
They weren't going to be
states?
a country.
Yeah.
We would have gotten swept back into England. Would that be so bad? Probably not.
Oddly, it seemed to have worked for Canada. You know what I mean? They just took their time.
Canada is, every show I've done except the New York Story, Canada is the answer at the end. It's really weird. And you'd think that people of Canada would notice and have me up there. No. What I just said to you, I've actually had to tell every Canadian. They go, and in true Canadian fashion, they have no emotion about either way. They're like, oh, really? Oh, my God.
Well, they're very cold. I mean, they're cold.
They are.
Right down to the bone.
They are.
Yeah, even in the summer.
Yeah.
They don't thaw out.
I know. Look at Bonnie.
That's bossroast.com.
Bossroast.com.
Look at Bonnie. I'm not going to forget that. So, how would you split this up? Where would we go with this? What are we going to do?
With the United States?
Yeah, the United States.
Well, I mean, it would be kind of how did they do the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics? You know what I mean? You bust a Kazakhstan, you have a couple, you try a tyrant in one place and a socialist in another,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I would just try to break it up by personality types, some people. I would make it a contest because ultimately, you do like a 5-year try and see which states do the best. You know what I mean? And then the other ones, you know.
Well, I think Texas is a gimme. I mean,
Texas and California,
yeah, they could. Well, California needs stuff, but Texas doesn't. You know what I mean? They really were a country once. I don't know why they came back in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they didn't want to come back in.
And they're actually, if you go down there, people are like, they're a Texan before they're American.
Sure, they don't give. They're ready to break up.
Yeah.
Most people are. Florida too. I mean, Florida is basically the when you divide it, when you're having a divorce, you have to decide who gets the troubled kid.
Right.
So it's like, who wants Florida? He's in and out of
I'll tell you.
foster care and
Florida's going to be a
detox.
fucking madhouse if we let that go, man. That's going to be like a riot in Sing Sing, man.
Yeah.
It's going to go nuts.
Yeah. They've got a lot of issues. Everybody wants Ohio because they're like the good kid.
Right.
But I think we should break up in some form. I mean, this can't go on like this, right? It's gonna be a war. That's how I feel about it.
You think
it's
it'll be
a war?
a physical war?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now it's a.
And this kind of shows up on your special as well as right now, is that you really don't care for most people.
Well, I mean, I think all good comedians have to have a very healthy hatred of people and themselves to really be a good comedian. But I mean, no, I just feel like what passes for intelligence is sad, you know?
Yeah.
It's like nobody says anything except shit that just, nobody ever like you said, even when you said to me, okay, what's the plan? It's like, what is it? Everybody just knows what's wrong. That's why the one thing I do hate about this country, is that everybody just fucking is a Monday morning quarterback. It's just built on the idea that you're allowed to complain.
Right.
And I've never been a big fan of that.
You've never been a big fan of complaining.
No, I've never. Well. No, he's not. Of course, 100% true. But what I'm saying is, like, I was talking to Ronnie Chang, and I was like, China has the right idea. Shut everybody up and just do things for the betterment of the general. And he goes, you wouldn't be able to do what you do for a living in China. And I was like, oh, let's shut down the whole fucking society then. Oh, I couldn't do my act. Well, that means the whole society crumbles. Big fucking deal. Whoa, stop that fucking... You know what I mean?
You're willing to fall in the sword.
Yes.
If the trains run on time.
For the great... exactly.
Good for you.
Exactly.
I see that as heroic. I really do, Colin.
Thank you.
Yeah. Although I think we'd be lesser without your act. I really do.
Well,
I'm
thank you.
serious about that. But it was a cheap pop, but I gave it to you. That's the...
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now
I folded my arms like you just let it happen. I might have folded my arms before it happened, which is embarrassing. He did that, and I was like this. Where's the applause?
Where's that applause now?
Could have been in the old days. You'd be like this.
No.
Now you have to go for the arm folds.
Yeah. You also bring up and what's great about, and I don't really see a lot of other people doing this, but you do give it to the right and the left, pretty equally. But the PC stuff you came back on is like, you can't take it.
What do you mean?
In terms of the PC culture
right.
that the left has brought in the last, I guess, 10 years or so.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody's talking about that now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for you, how is like doing comedy changed? Is it the same? Is it different?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely different. Obviously, people, it's always going to be, it's always different as far as, what audiences want. I mean, people get offended by different things over the course of time, I mean, that's natural. But there's such an influence nowadays to control, like, it's just a weird Orwellian. I know it's overused, but it's fucking Orwellian what goes on now. And it's just strange sometimes, to watch it and just know some of the people that even do it. You know what I mean? It's just weird.
Do you think there's anything positive about where we're going with this? Because normally
No.
when there's a social change...
I really don't.
No.
Because here's the presumption. The presumption is that, first of all, the term punching down drives me crazy. fucking comedy is slap fight. It's play fighting. It's not fucking punching. I reject the premise that comedy's punching. I reject it. That's the first thing. I mean, people, and plus I was around for the 80s and 90s. It wasn't just these rabid fucking quasi-supremacist guys cursing out the audience and using the N-word. And you know what I mean? That's not the way comedy was in the 80s or 90s. So it's like everybody's pretending that they're under the yoke of fucking oppression. And it's just a little bit melodramatic for my taste. I'm not saying there isn't good things about more people doing comedy, more voices being heard, of course. But I'm saying pretending that there was this, like, intimidating presence running around the fucking comedy clubs. Comedians, we're not the fucking alpha males of society, okay? Let's calm down. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit, there's a little bit disingenuous. Almost as disingenuous as using the word disingenuous. But I mean, so that's the only thing I think. It's like, you know what I mean? I understand people can make a legitimate argument for some things, but everyone's acting like this was, you know, some totalitarian fucking evil state that they managed bravely to free themselves from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of fucking socially awkward fucking narcissist comedians that, you know.
Well, I'm glad to see that you wrestled with that a little bit. You went back and forth with it. It came down on one side.
Well, look, like I always say, it's like, yeah, I'm glad there's nobody identifies ethnicity or, you know, anyone's religion now in comedy. Like that's really, and since that started to be the rule of comedy, racism has gone down 92%. So it's really been effective. That's
so
great.
You're welcome, America. Thank your local comedy club.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they, you know, the people try to put comedy like it's this, it's got to be the voice, like it's the tone of a nation and a little bit of the, here's a radical thought. Comedy, first and foremost, you're supposed to laugh. Secondly, it's entertainment. And then, if you can get your opinion in and say something that's fucking amazing, that's maybe the highest form. But if it's not getting laughs, like doctors first do no harm, comedy first get the laugh. So it's like, you know, people don't come out to, you know, have their fucking traditional, marginalized, reinforced, whatever the fuck, patriarchal, you know what I mean?
Right.
But then a few people have decided, you don't see what's happening, we'll see it for you.
Right.
You don't understand the unconscious. And it's like, you know, it's too melodramatic for me. It's, you know, it's overly, you know, there's just something about it that just hits me as fake, you know?
It is, but it does seem to be some kind of a weird growing pain that our whole society is going through now, you know? I think they want to have good intentions with it, you know, because they all missed the civil rights movement in the 60s, and that was a great place to be, I think, for a white comedian. Just out, you know what I mean? Just out there like Mort Saul with a paper under your arm.
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean? It was
but once again, when Lenny Bruce went up against the Catholic Church, that was fucking dangerous.
Right.
That was 1960. Okay? It's the Catholic Church is not exactly, it's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
I'm not
these
saying,
days.
no pun intended. But
I think you wanted to use the plural fruits. That's where.
But I'm just saying, once again, we can say whatever the fuck we want. Nobody's coming. The fucking cops don't come in the door for calling Catholic Church fruits. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
And I'm not
right.
saying you can't make fun of them. I'm just saying people are very selective about what they're gonna, you know, pick on, religion-wise and everything else-wise.
Right.
And it's just phony. You know what I mean? I almost said disingenuous again. You people are lucky. You people are lucky. I was dying to say it. So I seem intelligent. You know, if you say disingenuous, people go, "Ooh, he's intelligent."
Yeah.
Say phony, they're like, he could be my Uncle Al. You know?
All right, so you're looking at your next thing that you're doing, but you haven't formed it yet. You haven't put it together. It takes a while to do this. You're over in what's known as the CQ room next door.
Yes.
You're in there just trying to hammer it out. Do you have a plan? Do you have an idea?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of, you know, like I said, it might sound familiar, but basically it's about the fact that whatever society you put together so far in history, there's going to be bullying by whoever has the power. So right now, the power is the tyranny of the mob, the internet. Because I see all the Democratic candidates, they're scared of the internet.
Right.
They're scared of the fucking, you can just see it. They just agree with everything because they're thinking, I don't want to get fucking hammered. And the media is scared of the internet. People say the media has power. No, the fucking internet, it's the ultimate democracy. But as I say in the new show, not to give away the lines, but I'm very greedy like that. But
by the way, any of us could spend $5 and watch you put this together. So
yes, you're right.
You're right.
But fair enough, Rod. Now I wish I smoked again. Smoke. And not only did they smoke on talk shows in the 60s, they got to cross their legs and nobody complained.
That is true. They had all the time in the world, didn't they? No
Yes,
matter
they
what,
did.
they came on that talk show and just like, wait a minute, Johnny.
Yeah.
You really want to take a nice long hit off this Marlboro? That was a better time.
You used to smoke, right? You smoked cigarettes, right?
I smoked cigars.
Did you smoke cigarettes, I mean?
Never.
I smoked cigars, but it didn't work out. I quit cigarettes. I said, I'm going to smoke cigars. You don't inhale the cigars. I was up to a box a day inhaling them. I was just living in denial. And I could barely walk. Because cigars, they're really powerful.
Yeah.
So when you inhale them,
Well,
it was bad
if you
spending all my
smoke
money.
20 cigars a day, yeah.
20 a day. 20 a day. This fucking big. Like 3 packs, 4 packs, 6 a day. So I had to quit that.
Yeah. A little bit of addictive personality.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I guess.
That's why I got into comedy. I'm addicted to fun.
That sounds like one of your tweets. That it's. I don't know if anyone's ever used Twitter like you before, but there's no one else that somebody has said to me, "Hey, I want you to take a look at this tweet," and then we sit and laugh like we were looking at The Far Side in 1978. We're passing the phone around. You're such a fucking ball buster.
Thanks, yeah. I really found it. You know, when I was a kid, somebody on Twitter actually pointed this out to me once. When I was a kid, the bar's down at the corner, so I'd lean out the window, just with the lights off, and I'd yell to the guys walking up to their car, you didn't get laid, you fucking asshole. And I would just like heckle. They'd be like, who the fuck said that? I'll kick your ass. I go, you're not kicking anyone's ass. And I would just like heckle them. With the window was shut like here, and it would just be in my face. Like, who the fuck said that? And then, and I never, somebody on Twitter pointed out, oh, that's what you do on Twitter. I was like, oh, yeah. Just an asshole.
I actually picture you as a 7-year-old with the same exact voice that you have now.
Yeah.
But you like to stir up a little bit of shit. That's fun for you.
Yeah. Well, I like being sincere on Twitter,
Yeah.
And it is true that a lot of people are too crude on Twitter. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people they just indulge themselves too much, and it just infuriates me. So then I get even cleaner. But now everybody's in on the joke. When I first started, I would just say, let's keep it PG, let's keep it. And guys go, you're a fucking sellout. You're a fucking. I go, hey, come on. You like those comedians that curse. I'm just not into that anymore. Like, fuck you. And I go, you call that humor? I don't find it funny. Fuck you. But now everybody knows I'm just a dick,
So goddamn funny. It's just
But I gave it up because everybody's in on the damn joke now. I can't get it. I can't get,
Well, head over to TikTok and enjoy yourself. It's a whole new platform. Jeffrey Epstein turned me onto it. I go, where's it all? What's happening now? I'm not keeping up. You brought up the heart attack, and then also, it kind of surprised me that you would even go public about that, because you don't, I don't think a lot of people know a lot about you, but you brought up the heart attack, and then on TV you announced that you were engaged, and everybody was like, what the fuck? What brought all this on to go a little more public with yourself?
But, I mean, I've never been private about it. It's just nobody, you know what I mean?
Has cared?
Well, what's that?
Up to this
Nobody
point, nobody cared. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody cared.
Yeah.
And it's like, my whole act used to be every confessional thing. It's not like
Right.
I didn't do that, but that's why I went into this other shit, because I was like done with that stuff, and people barely cared about that stuff. I mean, when I used to, my whole act was, I did this and that. It was in the 80s and 90s. But I mean, so yeah, I don't give a shit. I mean, I mean, getting married or I just don't talk too much about certain. I don't want other people to feel like you fucking talk about. You know what I mean? Like it's weird when you bring up other shit. You know what I mean? Not that I'm afraid of the wife.
That would be the biggest swerve if you started to do the old ball and chain material.
The old ball and chain. No, I mean it's and it's so different than that stuff. I mean, it's not like I come home and fucking Bachelor in Paradise is on every night or anything like that. No, unbelievable. Fucking. Yeah, I'm saying women have the worst fucking taste in TV. They put on Taxi Driver. What's this? It's fucking Taxi Driver. That's what it is. I don't mean to assign gender specific. Indulge me, I'll be gone soon.
That may be the most defensible thing that you've said all night. I'm sitting here going, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a gruff lady yelling, not true. She's slowly breaking a bottle to stab us.
Yeah. Is that true? Name 3 fucking Harvey Keitel movies right now. You can't pick Bad Lieutenant. No.
But you're happy. You're happy at this point in your life because this is really, in a lot of ways, this is the prime of your life, dude.
There's nothing I hate. Let me explain something.
Yeah.
Ron.
Yeah.
Nothing I hate when people, basically knowing me, and you know me, and you're a very insightful, intuitive guy. You know what I mean? Fucking amazing. And do you sense I'm fucking happy? I just don't know what prompted you to say that then. You don't seem to think you're gonna has to reassure yourself. Like, but you're happy. Are you happy? Are you happy? I mean, what the hell are we doing here?
Let me withdraw that last question. I've been going through a lot of blood sugar problems, so every once in a while, I'll just say something so bizarre. But I'm just saying, the run that
By the way, that's what I call a fucking man's man that just took the hit and said, let me withdraw that question. An asshole that has his own show would be like, but and try to attack CQ. But instead, he's like, let me withdraw that question. That's why he's the fucking greatest. Yeah. Yeah, you go over to fucking Jim and Sam, they won't let you get a fucking... Scumbags.
Yeah. You know they're our friends, right? You understand that? Now, Boss, on the other hand...
Let me explain something. Yeah.
What was, I just want to quickly just go back to what made you even think comedy, even when you were a kid? Was there somebody or?
Well, no, but I was like, anybody I grew up with said I peaked at 13. I was funny because when I was in junior high school and grade school, like it was a very, mixed area, all black, Puerto Rican, white. Like that's why I love New York stories. Like I was looking back at that. But everybody was just like, it was kind of wild in school and stuff. and I just started getting laughs like early on, and I got fucking addicted to it. So by the time I got into comedy, I've never been as funny as I was when I was 13. It's been anticlimactic.
Right. Maybe
fucking Constitution.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
But here's what I'm thinking. Maybe it wasn't you, it was the audience. If you go out and just start and work in front of children.
Yeah.
There's a lot of youngsters you're out there.
It was probably a lot of simpler material. You're right. Yeah.
I honestly think that those kids that you grow up with shape you as much as your parents. You know, that's what
I agree
consider,
100%.
You know what I mean? So that's what and most of us still consider funny. You know what I mean? Those guys that we hung out, and women. Yeah. Some black. Covering all the bases, bro.
Yeah.
But those are the people that you're like, that's a sense of humor. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's it. And then you try to do this to somehow bring that out to everybody.
Yeah, you try to duplicate, but when you first start doing stand-up, you're like, oh fuck, this is a whole different ballgame. You know what I mean? And then you trying to convey your personality and make it funny. It's horrible.
Well, it's also because immediately you will start to try to act like a comedian instead of the guy hanging out with your friends.
Yeah.
You know? So you're like who's ever on the Tonight Show at the time. And you see that in kids all the time, like open micers and stuff. And you come in and they're doing, some version of Attell, and I'm like, you know how fucking hard that is, right?
Right.
Like you don't want to.
Right.
You don't want to act like you're Attell. You don't write well enough.
Yeah.
To do that,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't like, there was some comic out there or whatever that made you want to do this.
No, but when I was when I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, I would watch this show, Can You Top This? And there was a guy named Jan Murray.
Oh, yeah,
an old school guy with a cigarette, fucking gold bling. One of those like real, just spray tan Jews. Apologies to Richard Voss. Apologize to Voss. But, and I would just watch him smoking on TV. I was like 9 years old, and he'd just be like taking over the room. I was like, fuck yeah, and that looks like the fucking life, man. I wanted to smoke and be in nightclubs and,
You're the only human being who's ever brought up Jan Murray's name when it came to influences.
Yes.
I mean, even Jan Murray did not want to be.
Well, it's funny because I met Jan Murray and I was like, Jan, I'm a big... And he goes, have a nice holiday, and walked away. I don't even know. And it was right around Christmas. I felt like it was a shot. And he was trying to say, you're a Christian. Get the fuck out of here. Have a nice holiday. I read between the lines. Yeah. But I also like David Brenner. When I was a kid, I remember seeing David Brenner on The Tonight Show. Yeah. And he had this brown leather jacket, open shirt, chains, in the 70s. And I was like, look at this fucking badass, a shag haircut. Yeah. And he's up there doing his jokes, but you can tell he's still like a cool dude, Yeah. And then so I kind of liked him.
He was like, you would see David Brenner on The Tonight Show, on Merv, on Mike Douglas, on all in the same week.
Yes.
You're like, how much fucking material does this dude have?
Yeah.
Because there wasn't that many comedians. It was right before the big boom where there was a lot of young comedians. So he was like the young guy that the old guys could go to.
Yeah.
And like, what are the kids are up?
And they couldn't put Pryor and Carlin on because they were just too fucking dangerous for those shows.
Yeah. If you brought Pryor on the show, you could be fired. You know what I mean?
Pryor and Colin, they were too, you know what I mean? They were just, they would mock those shows and,
You were a Carlin guy? Was it,
yeah, of course.
Was Class Clown, was that the album for you? Because that was the Catholic one.
It wasn't just the album for me. It was the album. It was the album that influenced, because I watched all my parents and all my uncles and aunts that really lived, that they were the George Carlin era. Yeah. And I watched them sit there and listen to the album all the time. And just sit there and it was like, it was all their childhood, their pain, and laugh. And it was like the whole bit was like, I think like 7 minutes. I thought it was like an hour.
Right.
7 minutes. They just fucking healed or whatever, temporarily relieved so many people, like Irish Catholic people.
Yeah.
I was like, it was fucking impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was like the first time when you were a kid and you listened to him talking about the Catholic Church and all that, and you're like, holy shit, maybe I'm not wrong. This whole time, I'm praying my ass off all night, holding on. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
And then you hear a man, and you're like, oh, it doesn't fucking make sense.
But,
you know?
yes, but he did it with love back then. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, he did it with like a certain, remember you with the good priest and how they taught you to think and the Father Rivera and all that stuff. So it was kind of interesting. It wasn't just him just attacking the church. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was a freedom to it.
Yeah.
Have you ever met George?
And it was intelligent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came on Tough Crowd.
Yeah. That is like, that was one of those guys that when you met him, it was like, because you can meet almost anybody in comedy, but when you met George, it was like, I've walked into the fucking album now. You know what I mean? I've walked into that.
I disagree because once I realized that, like Joe DeRosa, George said hi. He talked to every open micer on the fucking phone for like 10 years. That by the time I met George, I was like, fuck, George.
Yeah, right.
I wanted him to have a vibe like me and you, George. Instead, you know, you heard about the DeRosa great story.
No.
You didn't hear that story?
When he starts talking, I stop listening. No. By the way, I only know that because that'll hurt him because the last time we did something, you walked in on an unmasked, you heard his name,
right.
and he said it destroyed him.
Yes, that's right. He goes, but he got this. George Carlin came to him one time, and they're talking. He goes, "Keep kicking him in the nuts." He goes, "You got any advice from me, George?" He goes, "Keep kicking him in the nuts." So Joe's like, "Fucking Carlin, give me advice." So he gets KK, gets the initials KK and the D whatever on his arm tattoo. So he's like, "Yeah, I got the," and he's on, Opie and Anthony one time, and he goes, "Yeah, I got the tattoo." And so everybody starts calling in all these fucking half comedian or whatever. That's how he said goodbye to everybody. So now Joe has changed the tattoo. Joe is falling asleep every night, looking at his fucking arm, going, "It was a tough set, but you know what? It might as well have said, take care, kid."
It could have just been see a fuckface across there.
It might as well have been, yeah.
It's very funny because I talked to Joan Rivers one time, and she said she was a kid down in the village, and she's doing stand-up, and Lenny Bruce sent a note to her that said, "You were right, they were wrong." And she goes, 30 years later, she's still carrying the note, and she tells George Carlin, "I got this note." And he goes, "Yeah, I got one too." So,
yeah.
I mean, if it works, it works. Keep kicking them in the nuts, everybody. So that, I'm going to go back to Tough Crowd for 1 second, too, if I can, because I know I've gone back and watched that show. I don't know what the hell you guys were doing. It was really one fucking edgy, crazy show.
Yeah.
Did you realize it at the time? Or you like, this is gonna, be this thing that... I know young comics that come in here all the time, and that's the reason why. Because they watched Tough Crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted it to... No, I mean, I wanted it to be like, it was just the beginning of what quote-unquote political correctness was kind of... But it was like, I was watching all these comedians on stage. Every night I'd go to the cellar because you have to walk through the room to pee. Right. You're watching everybody on stage. You're all talking about every forbidden topic and getting laughs from the crowd. So it's like, this is still comedy. And then upstairs at the table, everybody's free associating. So I said, I want this to be, my whole idea was, it's going to be a show, like no applause. Nobody's allowed to applaud. That was the fucking rule when I came out. Anyway, no applause. No trying to get clapped there. It wasn't called clap to them, but it's supposed to either off the cuff as much as possible and make it like funny and real. So that was the whole idea, was to not be, prepackaged stuff. Yeah. And then, that part succeeded.
The no applause? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think that should have been a big worry for you, bringing those guys out there.
But yeah, The whole point was for it not to be like this fabricated showbiz, comedy, and everyone's being slick. The whole point was you're being funny or not, and that was supposed to be it. But that part worked. Like I said, that part that worked how I wanted. There was a lot of things I probably would have done differently, but yeah, I mean, the intention was to make it authentic, like you was hanging out, and not forcing people. I mean, people wrote, but they wrote that day on the topics, and a lot of people would just improvise, and I wanted it to be like that.
Because of that, a lot of young comedians are afraid to go in and sit at the table. They're afraid to go near the table because they don't feel like they're.
Well, not anymore. The tables have been gone for years.
But that doesn't mean that they're not afraid of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not always telling people. I'm like, Patrice died.
Yeah.
You're safe now.
Patrice died. Look, Patrice died and Nick moved. You're fine to sit at the table.
And he moved to Georgia, which is exactly the same as dying. By the way, Nick just doesn't even understand how to pull a punch, does he?
Nick, no.
Yeah.
No. Even back then.
But the jokes are there, and it's just so damn
hilarious.
Funny. And I will say this. I've been watching some specials, and I'm not going to say anything. I almost think that podcasting, right, has hurt specials a little bit because guys are going out, having fun, talking to their audience, but I don't think they're putting together a special the way you put together a special.
Right, to try to get laugh,
and have it go somewhere.
Right.
That's almost gone, know? You can go out on stage and have a fun rant, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's not the same as...
Joke.
Yeah, joke, and I didn't see that coming,
Yeah. Well, that's why my subjects I pick are so boring that I have to have jokes all the way through. Because or else people start turning on me. That's how I keep myself disciplined. Because they bring up, if you think about the Federalist Papers and people like, fuck you. Like, hold on.
Hold on. Trust me. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going somewhere with this. I will say this. On your last special, you didn't talk nearly as fast as the special before.
Yeah.
I mean, you've crammed, I felt like I probably lost a little, 40% of the words.
Yeah.
And I should have got a little money back. Watching this. But was there a reason that you kind of changed your delivery with that?
Well, it's funny. My director kept saying, slow down, like every day to him. I was like, Jesus. Yeah. So that's the reason, No, I mean, I wish I had done it my whole career.
Yeah.
Because here's another thing about comedy. Yeah. I wish I had been slow my whole career because I feel like you're conveying a message when you talk really slow. Like everything you say is so fucking important. And I was always like, blah, 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 like fast, just trying to get to the joke. And, it's sort of probably an Irish thing, too. Yeah. You're like, hold on, let me forget that. Irish people talk.
Yeah, the same way they eat. It's that whole thing of let me put my arm out here and shovel as quick as I can before one of my 7 siblings comes along and grabs a potato, and that's the end of me. I get nothing else tonight. But your delivery is uniquely yours, and I think the way you even put together jokes is uniquely yours. And that's why I was always surprised where you're like, oh, Seinfeld directed this one, because I think most people wouldn't understand where you guys intersect, but to you two, you do. Easily.
Oh, I mean, not easily. No, I don't think anyone works easily with anybody in comedy. But he definitely has his style is completely opposite of mine. He likes to work on one thing for a long time and just try to and I like to just change
work
the
on
subject
it all at
in
the
the
same time.
I like to change subjects in the middle of the joke. But he really understands the structural stuff. It's the same idea, which is to get to the jokes.
When did you guys meet? Was it the 70s, the 80s? When did you?
We met in the in 87 or 88, and I've known him since before he was that famous. I mean, he was still already a big comedian. He was like the biggest comedian of. Yeah,
he was the biggest club comedian.
Back then, yeah.
Because it went from Leno was the biggest club comedian, and then he moved up bigger, and then it was like Seinfeld. Yeah. You would have to say to people, no, Jerry Seinfeld, and they'd be like, who?
Right.
Seidenfeld, but everyone in comedy knew.
That's right.
And then, that show happened and just fucking went crazy.
I feel like that show made him even bigger.
Yes.
Just my opinion.
Yeah. And folks, you wonder why we call this show Unmasked. The one and only Colin Quinn, folks.